dialed is not in service at this time.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Good afternoon, South Africalings. As you can see, I'm behind this beautiful rose garden. Hey, how awesome is this? Hey, beautiful roses, guys. Nature at its finest. Hey, humans can't produce colors like that. That's for sure. Hey, makes you humble when you take nature in from an angle of just seeing what it actually is. Hey, pretty damn awesome, guys. This is the Wayne G Show. This is Real Talk Radio, where the talk is always real. Yes, guys. Today, I'm going to talk to you about something that we all experience from time to time. Some of us experience it a little bit more than others due to our lifestyles or our lifestyle choices, or our jobs or our family lives, or, pressures we're putting on ourselves. A nasty, ugly thing called stress. Yep, in caps lock, stress. It's a hardcore thing that we all go through, especially during these times, guys. Like I say, unprecedented times brings on unprecedented feelings, emotions, stresses, things that you never ever thought you'd be going through, you suddenly find yourself going through. And, how do you deal with that? And we come from so many economical, diverse backgrounds. Our cultural backgrounds in this country especially are so diverse. And, the way that we're taught to manage and deal with stress is also completely different. Certain cultures, I know in the Afrikaans culture, very often, especially males, we taught to suppress and not express our emotions. You can express anger and certain emotions, but fear and being upset and those kinds of things are taboo. You got to buckle up. You got to take it on the chin, sweetheart. But yeah, that's just how it is. But you know what, guys? I can't think of anybody I've ever met that doesn't feel stress in some way or another. Whether they show it or don't show it, it's a human reaction. Adrenaline is often a precursor of stress or vice versa. And yeah, our bodies are naturally engineered to use stress to save us. Stress, which produces adrenaline, is what we use as humans through our evolution to protect us from danger. So what happens is we encounter danger and our body then releases adrenaline, which puts you into a fight or flight mode, where you can escape whatever is threatening you or you can fight it. But what happens is, in our modern way of living, is that even though our bodies are biologically programmed to deal with stress in a certain way, and that's just our genetic programming, we experience massive amounts of stress and psychological stress in our lives because of our jobs. And again, I talk about it in the context of COVID-19, where so many of us either lost our jobs, got retrenched, got put on short time. If we were entrepreneurs, our own businesses suffered immensely. We were put into a lockdown scenario where we weren't allowed to open our businesses. Slowly, a lot of our businesses were allowed to reopen under certain conditions. But yeah, a complete dog show for many South Africans and many people across the world. And yeah, well, I don't know if you just saw that hummingbird fly past. Wow, that was pretty awesome. Hey, something just to take the stress away. But anyway, in countries like America, as I was saying, lockdown is happening again. In Europe, the Americans are finding it hard because of their adherence to social liberties. They believe that they should have the right to decide what they do and where they go. And I know that the Supreme Court there just upheld a massive ruling against the governor of New York, who wanted to put number limits on religious gatherings. And yeah, the Supreme Court threw the book at him over that. So yeah, you have situations where you're totally prevented from living a normal, I'll say in inverted commas, and I can't use both hands, so I'll drop the phone. But yeah, you're prevented from living a normal life, a life that you knew, a life that you understood. People like habit, people like routine, people enjoy that kind of thing because you get things done that way. You have a plan and you have little objectives that move towards your goals, and everything like that was tossed this year. A lot of our plans to do things, to grow our businesses or to travel or whatever were thrown into the toilet. And all of that, guys, causes stress. So how do we deal with stress? How do we deal with stress on a day-to-day basis? What do we do? How do you deal? How do you out there deal with stress? Do you exercise a lot? Do you go to the gym and train hard to get rid of your stress? Do you meditate? Do you use breathing techniques? Or do you just let it eat you up? Because I know a lot of people don't have any kind of coping mechanism with stress. So they end up just becoming more and more and more stressed. As time goes on, the stress builds up. So each day, if you think of it like an elastic band, each day the stress builds and you pull it and you pull it and you keep pulling it apart further and further. And as you pull that elastic band further and further, what happens? Hey, you know what happens. That elastic band snaps. And when it snaps, it usually hurts when it's in your hands. And that's what happens with stress, guys. We all have a level of stress that we can reach. And once we reach that level of stress and we don't try and deal with it and we don't do anything about it, it starts to impact hugely on our lives and on our health. If you look at the statistics at the moment around South Africa, and even in industrialized world, that things like heart disease, obesity, there are massive epidemics of that, taking people out all over the place. And people are now forced to be indoors or forced to quarantine or forced to isolate, and they're getting less exercise, less movement. And what does that equal? It equals more weight, more eating, less movement. Yep, you thought of it, heart disease. People start to get and develop heart disease because of how they're feeling and how they, how they are in their minds. Some of us just don't have any coping mechanisms to deal with stress. And, it's extremely dangerous for our health, for the people around us, for our employees or our employers, or, it's something that has negative consequences on our lives. It doesn't have a positive outcome for us. Stress is not a positive situation. It is something that is negative, and it's well documented across the medical world and in the medical fraternity, where stress leads to cardiovascular disease. It leads to a number of health issues, from getting issues with your digestive system. People end up with ulcers, you name it, guys. It comes with stress. Hey? People that are highly stressed often have health issues. And all of that is coming together this year, hey, because of the environment that we're in. But you know what, guys? We're in it. We're in it and we're stuck in it, and we don't have a choice. We don't have a choice about where we are. The only thing we can change is our relationship to stress and how we deal with stress on a daily basis, and how we really need to try and not let it overwhelm us. And there are many means and mechanisms of dealing with stress, but what I find really helps is just breathing. That old saying, just breathe? Fuck, it helps. Start concentrating on your breathing. The minute you're feeling overwhelmed and overstressed and in a panic mode, because that's what happens. Stress makes you anxious, and then you start having anxiety attacks or feeling extremely stressed. And what really helps with that is just some pure oxygen, like I'm in right now inside this, natural environment. There is so much oxygen around. So what you need to do is breathing really helps when you're feeling stressed. Take some time out, go into nature, go into a place like I am now, in a nursery or in a garden setting or somewhere natural, and just go and take a few deep breaths. There's no better therapy as far as I'm concerned than the great outdoors. Go outside and take a few deep breaths in and breathe through your nose and out through your mouth. And do that 20 times, guys. And I'm telling you now, you will feel extremely well after that. And, try not to think of anything. And I'm not talking about, Buddhist meditation and extremes like that. I'm just talking about breathing. Just a simple act of breathing can help so much, And I'm sure that meditation also helps. You know, I'm not a big meditator. I don't even know how to meditate, to be brutally honest. But I do know how to breathe, like most of us. And, you know, if you take notice of your breathing when you're stressed, you breathing like that. You're taking like short breaths. And what does that do? It makes you hyperventilate. And then you start to feel anxious. And it's a vicious circle, guys. And, you know, I'm talking about this now because we're in COVID-19 times, and they're stressful times, guys. You can deny it, you can pretend that you're not stressed, you can pretend everything's hunky-dory and life's good, but if you really think about it, things aren't how they used to be, and that does cause stress. So yeah, there's a way of dealing with it, and I really like the idea of just breathing, you know, just taking a deep breath in and a breath out, and doing that a few times, and just centralizing your breathing and trying not to think about everything, and try and go one step at a time. Yeah, guys, that's my real talk for today. Something a bit different, something off politics and off the disasters in South Africa and what's going on around us, and just something more about what's going on inside of you, because you're important. That's some real talk, guys. This is the Wayne G Show. This is Real Talk Radio, where the talk is always real. Peace and love.